Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, November the 12th. And welcome to our commentary. Well, we have a government being put together, if you will, by President-elect Trump. And he's doing what president-elects usually do, which is to start, floating the names of people who are going to be in his cabinet. And I don't know. I think maybe he's doing this a little bit earlier than others, or maybe I'm just wrong in what I say. But we have here. I mean, the election was a week ago, and we already have a candidate for the border, for Secretary of State, Homeland Security, Chief of Staff in the White House. I kind of expected that one to be first. So it seems like things are moving fast by the Trump administration. You certainly get all the signs that they want to hit the ground running, and that's extremely important to do so because presidents have new presidents. That is, I mean, Trump is not new in the sense that he came back, but it's new in the sense that it's the first year, and they usually have the first year and roughly till spring of the second year to sort of set the tone for the midterms that will happen in 2026. We're going to have midterms. And historically, as you know, the midterms are tough on the incumbent president. So Trump realizes that he's got to get as much as he can done with the current Congress. Now, he's got a pretty good chance of keeping the Senate. It would take a huge Democrat night to win the Senate back in 26. But the House could change. I mean, the numbers in the House are not that big, so that could change in 2026. So President Trump knows that he's got to hit the ground running, and he's got to get his people in as soon as possible. He's got to get them confirmed. Now, they will be confirmed fairly quickly because he has a friendly Senate that wants to confirm these people as soon as possible. But he's off and running, and that's a good thing. He obviously had a plan all along. You wonder how many of these appointments had been really thought about during the campaign or before, but it sure looks to me like he has a plan. And let's take a look at some of the people he's putting in. The former or the current governor from South Dakota, Kristi Noem, is going to be, I believe, Homeland Security. Then the chief of staff, of course, will be a return for the lady whose name I cannot remember, but she was the campaign manager and did a very good job in getting along with Trump, which is very important. You got to get along with Trump, and that's very important. So she has that job fairly easily. Then you have, of course, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I love that pick, by the way. I think that's a wonderful pick, and let me tell you why. I believe that one of the most interesting things that will happen under President Trump is the proliferation of our relations with Latin America. We have got to start seeing our continent as one in terms of trade, in terms of where we're going. And we have right now a very good government in Argentina. We have a very good government in El Salvador. We have other good, decent governments in Uruguay, Paraguay, and Chile. So, you've got to start moving in the direction of doing something about Venezuela, doing something about Cuba, doing something with Mexico. And I think that Marco Rubio is just the perfect person to sit down and talk to some of these leaders, particularly Mexico. With Mexico, I believe there is a great opportunity to work out a deal for both countries. What's happening on the border right now is not helping Mexico either. I think we often get lost in thinking that this is good for Mexico. No, it's not. What is coming up north is drugs and people, fentanyl basically, and people. That's what's coming up north. What's going south is lots of dollars, lots of weapons, and that, of course, translates into lots of violence in Mexico. And Mexico is a very violent country right now. The number of people being killed is exorbitant. And much of it is related to this cartel versus that cartel and so on. So I think President Trump if he sends his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to visit directly with the president of Mexico, and they can work something out. They can work something out that makes sense. I'm not interested in intervention in Mexico. I know people talk about sending troops into Mexico. I've never really supported that, except in a very extreme emergency, of course. But I don't think that's a good idea to get American troops, take American troops into Mexico, and then all of a sudden you've got American troops in some small town in Mexico in a shootout with cartels potentially killing innocent people. That's not a good deal. That's not a good deal for the United States. But we can certainly put pressure on our side of the border and say, okay, this is our border, and we're going to control our side of the border. And that means closing the border. That means getting very serious, super, super serious about people coming in who don't have papers, and also beginning the deportation of some of the people who are here who, for whatever reason, don't qualify to stay here. So I think those are all very important things that we have to negotiate with Mexico. And I believe that Senator Rubio would do a fantastic job in that area. He also, I think, has the experience, and he's taken the time to study the whole issue of foreign policy. I think he understands Russia very well. I think he understands China. I think he's perfect for doing business with Cuba and with Venezuela. So, I mean, I'm very happy with the choice. I think it's a very good choice for the United States to have a man of his skills, not just his skills as Secretary of State, but his ability to communicate. Secretary of State is often a person who has to speak for the United States in the world arena. And nobody speaks better than Rubio. The man is an excellent speaker. You know, a lot of people during the campaign for president said that Rubio had a lot of the Reagan qualities, you know, the Reagan-esque speaking qualities, where he spoke with elegance and he spoke well. I don't know if anybody will ever be another Reagan, but Rubio comes pretty close to that kind of politician. So I love the fact that he's going to be nominated or has been nominated. I don't know if it's official, but he certainly, everybody's talking about it as if he's going to be nominated for Secretary of State. So I'm looking forward to that particular thing there with him as Secretary of State. One thing that is extremely interesting is the appointment of former Governor Huckabee as ambassador to Israel. You know, that's not a major appointment, although I guess it is in a way because it's Israel. But I don't think the ambassador to Israel gets a lot of publicity. Where I think it's important here is because Huckabee has a good relationship with President Trump. And I think his appointment is a clear signal that the Trump administration is 100% with Israel. The fact that a guy like Huckabee would go as ambassador to Israel, that I think is a fabulous indication of American support for Israel. So far, the Trump pre-administration, or the President-elect Trump, I should say, is making the kind of selections, or at least making putting together the kind of government that I think will be good for him and good for the country. I've got a post, changing subjects, I've got a post over at the American Thinker today talking about Texas, the Democrats, the Republicans, the election. You know, a lot of money was spent by the Democrats to turn Texas blue. In fact, I don't know what the figure is, but I've heard 100 million, maybe more. I mean, it seems like every day there was an ad ad on television from Colin Allred talking about abortion, or talking about the border, or not the border, but January 6th. There was all kinds of ads. And they also spent a lot of money, I think, trying to sign up people and to get people out to vote. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Trump won Texas by 15 points, and Cruz won the Senate by 9 points. So it didn't matter. And I think the lesson that the Democrats need to learn out of this whole election is that spending money is not going to do it by itself. You got to do more than spend money. You have to have a message. You also have to have a messenger that they don't really have right now. You have to have a message. You have to have a message that works in Texas. And focusing exclusively on abortion focusing exclusively on Trump as a dictator. Trump is a threat to democracy. He's a convicted felon. All that stuff sounds good. I know if you hate Trump, all that stuff sounds real good. But I don't think it's going to matter that much to people in Texas. And it did not matter. It didn't matter. Both, Trump went up to 15, which is roughly where most Republicans have been in Texas elections before Trump. And Cruz went up to, Ted Cruz went up to 9, which is a heck of a good number when you're running for re-election in the Senate. So I think in both of these cases, the message of the Democrats failed. And there's a great editorial in Dallas Morning News today, Tuesday, where the Dallas Morning News basically reminds Democrats of what a lousy election day they had with Hispanics in general, and reminding them that Hispanics are diverse people, and they're not just talking about immigration all day long. They care about other things. And apparently the Democrats didn't know that. They thought that all Hispanics do is talk about immigration. Well, they don't. We don't. We talk about a lot of other things as well as immigration. So check out the editorial. It's in the Dallas Morning News. I'm going to feature, by the way, that editorial in my post Wednesday morning. So if you don't get a chance to read the editorial, check out my post coming out Wednesday morning. Well, not even a week, and we're already talking about the next government. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like it. I like it very much. Of course, last but not least, there's all kinds of talk about President Biden in these last 60 weeks, or 6 weeks really, or 2 months, I guess. Not even that long, 6-7 weeks of his administration. And, he looks tired, President Biden. He looks tired. He looks like a man who probably should have never run in the first place, should have definitely dropped out over a year ago. I think he would have done the country and his party a big favor by dropping out a year ago and simply saying he wasn't going to run. He was going to pass the torch to a new generation. That would have meant the party would have had primaries. I'm not sure that Kamala Harris would have been selected if that was the way they did it. But nevertheless, I think they really dropped the ball with President Biden by not forcing him to get out earlier. And I'm talking a year ago. Should have gotten out and just open up 2024 to primaries and to, as they say, a new generation of leadership. That didn't happen, of course, and that ended up hurting the Democrats a great deal. So as President Biden is winding down here, we wish him well. I don't know how active or how significant he's going to be here at the end, but he's still the president. So in case of an emergency, he's still the president. He's going to be the president for, as I say, another 7 weeks, 7 weeks or 10 weeks, I think, whatever it is, coming up. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.